recording? Okay. I'm recording because we have usually a lot of people who sign up and then some people can't make it live. So if you register for any of our webinars, you will get the replay link emailed to you. Give us a couple of days, okay? Maybe like 3 days, and we should have it to you because it takes time to get the recording from Zoom and then upload it on YouTube and then send it. So just give us a couple days. But even if you are here today and you want to rewatch, you will have the access to do so. So, Sammy, if you didn't get it, I would DM the Megix 10 page because what we do is anybody who registers, we send that email out. So maybe message the Megix 10 page and to see why it could be that you're not subscribed to the emails. There's a lot of things that could happen. So if you just message them, they can help fix it for you. Okay, so with that being said, good morning, everybody, and thank you so much for spending a little bit of time with me this morning. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Araz. I am the lead educator for Megix 10 in North America and Canada. Megix is a brand that, like, as soon as I started using it, I was like, oh, there's something here for me. There's something here for me, and this is going to be so life-changing for my business, and it was. And because it was so life-changing for my business, I became super passionate about spreading the word about Megix 10 because like I had mentioned earlier, during COVID times, this was a really big help for me. And if we look at just kind of what's going on in the world right now, Megix is really the solution. Let me explain to you what I mean. There's a lot of fear that people have right now around raising their prices. Would you guys agree with me that, like, okay, you probably should be raising your prices because the cost of everything is insane. And you're thinking, I need to be raising my prices. But then there's this like level of anxiety or fear because I know I feel it like, shoot, my clients aren't making more money. Like it's kind of messed up if I have like, but I have to sustain my business. This is where Megix 10 is a great solution. And it's a lot of things. Like clients are kind of scared. Oh my God, I love that, Amanda. Amanda said, I just did a price increase, not one client pushed back. They're not going to push back. We just build it up in our head, right? We freaking panic in our heads. And I'm not here to tell you raise your prices, don't raise your prices. But what I am here to tell you, especially if you are newer to Megix or you haven't adopted Megix as your primary color line, that like maybe raising your prices isn't the only solution. Maybe saving time instead is also a solution because let's say you have a client that normally takes you 3 hours and you can get them done in an hour and a half. Now you can book a second client for that additional hour and a half, doubled your income without raising your prices and making your clients feel some type of way. Just some food for thought. Um, just some food for thought for you. So maybe the answer is just being able to save time. Like I said, Megix changed the game for me. And this is why I speak so passionately about it. It's not just because I work for the brand, it's because it really shifted the way I run my business. Not even like the bottom line, but just the way I run my business and the way I work in my placements and my techniques. And it is so efficient minded, right? Like I've positioned myself as an express luxury service provider. That means every service that I do is luxury and express. And when I tell you the client loyalty and the referral rates that I've had over the past 6 or 7 years using Megix is insane. So I will tell you guys, this is not going to be an in-depth Megix 10 class. This is a class that is focused specifically on Megix Morph. So I'm going to share my screen. Oh, let's see here. It is specifically on Megix Morph. And the reason I wanted to do this, and it's going to be on YouTube. Typically our webinars, you guys, I have as a hidden YouTube because I only want people who registered to be able to watch it. But this one I think I'm going to keep public because there are so many questions about Morph, what it is, how to use it. So I wanted to spend this next maybe hour diving into understanding Morph. Okay, understanding a little bit more. I'm trying to see where my chat is. There we go. Okay, so understanding Morph a little bit more, how to formulate with it, how it works. So it's not an in-depth Megix 10 class. If you're looking for that, we do have replays of some of our webinars on YouTube. We have an on-demand webinar. You can always just send me a DM and I can send you on-demand webinar. I'm going to put my Instagram in the chat if you guys don't have it. Did that send? Perfect. Yes, Sammy, being registered for the webinar would make you registered for the recordings. Absolutely. But typically the recordings are unviewable on YouTube. They're just private links. But this one I think we'll keep on YouTube. That's super irrelevant, by the way, to you guys. Let's talk about Megix Morph and how you can master Morph. So what I'm going to cover today is, first of all, a little bit about Megix 10. We can't talk about Megix Morph without talking about Megix 10, just a little bit. We're going to talk about why pH matters. We're going to talk about alkaline demis, acidic demis, mixing ratios for Megix Morph. And then I did a couple of swatches yesterday with Morph just to kind of show you guys some results. So if that sounds good. I can't see it, but give me 2 thumbs up. I guess I could see it if you put it in the chat. You can give me 2 thumbs up. Okay. So the first thing I want to talk about is the technology in Megix 10. It is unparalleled. It is nothing like anything else on the market. There are a lot of 10-minute colors on the market. There's nothing like Megix 10. I know I sound biased, but if we're just talking technology to technology, there's nothing like Megix 10. So the first thing you need to know is about spectrum technology. Here's the deal. A lot of 10-minute colors tend to be progressive. They get darker. Megix does not. Megix does not get darker the longer you leave it on, and that's because of spectrum technology. Part of that is the dye molecules that we use. They're high quality, they're rare, they're micro pigmented, and I know you've maybe heard that before, micro pigments. But the cool thing about Megix 10 and our formula with spectrum technology is that these micro pigments couple and combine quicker than most traditional hair color. This is how the process works in 10 minutes. So just for like reference, most other 10-minute color lines are very high alkaline, okay, which means they blast that cuticle open as quickly as possible. They also have a very heavy dye load, which means they pack in as much dye as possible. This is what makes them progressive. This is what makes them what makes the hair kind of feel a little rough is the high alkalinity and the heavy dye load. That's other 10-minute colors. Megix 10 is low in ammonia, and we're using spectrum technology. So we don't have extra dyes. They're on level. They're on, like, we have enough dyes in the level to be a level 6 or a level 7 or whatever it is. They just couple and combine quicker, allowing this process to happen in 10 minutes. There's no other technology that has this, which is why Megix is non-progressive, which is why Megix feels amazing on the hair. That's because of CareVeg 18. Okay, so one, we're not high in ammonia. It's not super high in alkalinity, so we're not doing this to the hair a lot. But two, if you've used Megix and you notice the shine, that's CareVeg 18. So CareVeg 18 is something that's already built into the Megix color. It's not like something you have to add into the color. It's built in to the color, to the developers, to the shampoo, to the conditioner. And what CareVeg 18 is a vegetable-based or a plant-based keratin or amino acid complex. It will help with strength. It will help with elasticity. It makes the hair really shiny and essentially puts back in, while the hair is coloring, um, conditioning agents. And like I always tell people, think of it like a hair mask. Okay, this is not a bond builder. This is not that. Okay, CareVeg 18 is like, has the properties of a hair mask. Okay, so it's conditioning, it's hydrating, it's strengthening, elasticity, all of that plant-based amino acids, but it's already built into the color. It's already built in. So if you've used Megix and you're like, holy moly, this is really shiny, a lot of that has to do with CareVeg 18. So just technology, spectrum technology, CareVeg 18, nothing like it on the market. And while we're at it, like, Megix also has over 90 shades to choose from. So I oftentimes tell people, like, yes, our color process is in 10 minutes, but you can't think of it like a 10-minute color line, because a typical 10-minute color line has what, 15, 20 shades, really only for gray coverage. I'm sorry, really only for like, yeah, they only market it for gray coverage. And like, it's not, they can't typically be used as a primary color line. They're typically used as a meat, or as like an additional, as an add-on. Whereas with Megix, every service that you do in the salon, you can use Megix. right? Over 90 shades. So your reds, your coppers, your golds, your ashes, gray coverage, root melting, toning, all of it, saving you 70% in processing time. That's over 3 hours a day that you can save just by switching to Megix, not just the regular 10-minute color line, right? Think of it like a traditional color line that just so happens to process in 10 minutes. So it's not progressive. We've got Spectrum technology. We've got Caravage 18, 100% gray coverage, and it can be used as a permanent, as an alkaline demi, or an acidic demi. So do you have to carry multiple lines? No. If you want to, sure, you can. But today I want to focus on how to make Megix 10 an alkaline demi and an acidic demi. And I'm going to get into the details of what the differences are and when you would use what. But before I do that, just a quick glance at the tonal families that we have in the Megix 10 portfolio. I told you, it's not just naturals and ashes. Every color, any color that you would need. If you are a colorist who likes to play with color, you're welcome. 10-minute processing time, not progressive. You're welcome. So we have true neutrals, 0.00N. This is what you would use for your gray coverage. So I'm not going to go deep into it, but if you have any gray hair on the head, you got to mix some true neutral in with your formula. And then we have a cool natural, a warm natural. We've got ashes, we've got violets, gold, copper, mahogany, different reds, maroon, sand, tobacco, and chocolate. It's a lot of colors for you to play with, babe. It's a lot of colors for you to be able to play with. And all of these can be transformed into an alkaline demi or an acidic demi. We also have the ultra blondes. And the reason I put ultra blondes in this webinar specifically is because the ultra blondes or the high lift blondes, okay, as they are designed naturally are to be a high lift blonde, right? Up to 3 or 4 levels of lift. You would mix it with double 40 volume. Now you know why your blonde turned green with the S. Yeah, it's yellow green, but so the ultra lift blondes, the high lift blondes process for 20 minutes. They're great on their own. But when it comes to toning blonde hair, these are my go-tos. If I have lifted anyone past a level 9 or above, I will typically always tone with the ultra blondes. And I'm going to tell you why. First, let's go over the options that we have. So we have 0.00, which is a blonding enhancer. This on its own is designed to give extra lift, extra alkalinity to your high lift formula. So if you want an extra 0.5 to 1 level of lift, you would add this blonding enhancer, okay? But when you use it the way it's designed as an acidic demi, it will be used as a clear. I'm going to get into all the details, but like it could be used as a clear to dilute your formula, okay? So we have the 0.00. We have 100, which is more of like a neutral blonde. 101, which is a very ash blonde. 102, which is a violet blonde. 103, which is a golden blonde. 104, which is a strawberry blonde. And then 108, which is a pearl, like a blue violet. Let me tell you why I like to use these as my acidic toners versus something like a 10.1, right? 10.1 is a level 10 ash. Maybe a great option for the blondes, but here's the deal. When we're dealing with blonde hair that we have just lightened, first of all, it is very, very swollen. It is already very swollen. We have created porosity, right? And so when I put a color that is like, for example, 10.1, that means it's a level 10, meaning there is brown in that level 10 plus the ash, which is the blue-green. So I'm putting brown plus blue-green on that really blonde hair. And what could happen is it could appear darker and it could appear more opaque. If all I want to do is just tone, shift the tone a little bit, in the high lifts, there's no brown. It's just tone, right? So the 101 is just, it's at a level 10, or I'm sorry, at a level 11 or 12, but it's just ash or just gold or just strawberry or just neutral, right? So these are, in my opinion, better to use because A, there's no background, and B, this is the most important, toning extra porous, freshly bleached hair, it usually sucks up color. Okay. So if you think about how a high lift blonde is designed to be used in its natural state, it is designed to do what? Lift, 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 deposit. So if I take away that lift, 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 which you can do with Morph, I'm going to explain it. But if I take away that lifting power, all I'm left with is a little bit of deposit, a little sheer deposit. So I don't have to worry about overtoning freshly bleached, highly porous hair. Does that make sense? Does that make sense to you guys? On why you would choose to use a high lift blonde to tone as long as you make it an acidic versus like a 10.1. Yes, you always use it. Amazing. I love that, Amanda. Linear. I did a high lift blonde treatment, cut and blowout in 75 minutes. Yeah, like the time that you can save, guys, it's wild, wild. Okay, so that's a little history on the high lift blonde. So how do you use Megix 10 for toning? Well, when it comes to toning, first you've got to decide what kind of toner, what kind of process do you want? If you want an alkaline demi, then you would mix your Megix 10 color with our fixed developer, which is a 6 volume. Okay, Megix 10 color, fixed developer, you have an alkaline demi. Now, if you want an acidic demi, then that's when you would mix your Megix 10 color, your 6 volume developer, which is fixed, and Megix Morph. Megix Morph is what transforms Megix 10 from an alkaline to an acidic. So it's the same tube of color you're using, guys. It's the same exact tube of color that you're using. You're just adding Morph, which is an acidifying treatment, to help bring down the pH. So let's talk about Megix Morph, okay? It is a pH adjuster. This is chemistry to like the umpteenth degree, okay? It is a pH adjuster. So what it does is it lowers the pH of Megix 10, transforming it into an acidic demi. It helps preserve the integrity of the hair, avoids unnecessary lift, and really acts as a deposit-only toner. When you use an alkaline demi, what could happen, and maybe this has happened to you, it happened to me, and I was like, what the frick is happening? I thought I was using a deposit-only toner. This was back in the day, T18. Well, do y'all remember? Okay. So I thought I'm using a toner. I had a client, she was like probably a natural level 5-ish. And I had highlighted, pack the foils in, and we needed a tone. So I put a toner on there thinking it was a deposit-only toner. It was alkaline. What happened to the virgin hair that was on that head when I threw that toner on her? What happened? When I used an alkaline toner on hair that had some virgin hair on it, yep, it lifted. It created a base bump situation. If that's what I had wanted, I would have been thrilled. Is that what I wanted? No. And it was really alkaline. It got orange. It was a nightmare. I was like only a few years and it was horrendous, horrendous. So if you want an alkaline demi, just think of alkaline, or if a color has alkalinity in it, think it also has lifting ability. Alkalinity is similar or the same thing basically as lifting ability. So if you want some lifting, alkaline demi is a great choice. But if you don't, and you want a deposit only, that's when you're going to use an acidic demi. That's when you're going to add Morph, because Morph takes away the alkalinity, aka the lifting ability. Oh, this is making sense for you guys. We can't talk about alkalinity without talking about the pH scale. Okay. And we can't talk about Morph without understanding pH. Okay. So this, I'm going to do a very basic pH talk. Anything below a level 7 is considered acidic. Anything above a level 7 is considered alkaline. Now, hair does not have a pH of its own. Okay, it takes on the pH of the environment that it's in. But it's because pH can only be measured by potential hydrogen, so there's got to be hydrogen. You can't measure the pH of something, like you can't measure the pH of oil. There's no hydrogen in oil. There has to be hydrogen, okay? So hair's happy place though, where hair looks the prettiest, the shiniest, it's doing good, 4.5 to 5.5. Anything above that is technically alkaline to the hair, okay? Now, in the alkaline side, this is where hair color lives. This is where bleach lives, right? Demi-color, permanent color, high lift color, bleach lives on the alkaline side. On the acidic side, we have developer. Developer is acidic, so if you ever think I'm going to use a higher developer to blast the cuticle, it doesn't, right? Alkalinity swells. Acidity constricts. So developer by itself, by the way, is acidic. It constricts. Morph is acidic. It constricts. The more acid you add to an alkaline product, the more you bring it down on the pH scale. Okay. The more acid you add, the more you bring it down. But if I were to mix morph, developer, and high lift color, it's not going to bring this high lift color down to here. It's going to meet somewhere in the middle to alkaline side. Okay. And another thing you got to know about the pH scale, it is logarithmic, which means that it's 10x every jump. So if this is the power of 10, this is the power of 100. This is the power of 1,000. So an 8 to a 9 is 1,000 times stronger, 10,000 times stronger, 100,000 times stronger. So even though it's a one jump from a 10 to 11, it's 100,000 times stronger. Just FYI. So we're like, oh, it's a 9 to a 10. A 9 to a 10 is a big deal. Let me reel it back. I got a little too sciencey for y'all. When it comes to acidifying a product or dropping the pH down, trying to manipulate the pH, okay, especially when it comes to morph. And the reason I'm saying this is because there are 3 different mixing ratios when it comes to using Megix Morph. People it gets like complicated, like, oh, yeah, let me explain why. Okay. Because the higher the level of color, the more alkalinity that is in that color. And the more alkalinity that is in that color, the more lifting ability that color has. Okay, so the higher the level of color, the more lifting ability that it has. For example, a high lift will give you more lift on somebody's hair than a level 8, right? I hope you're following me. Lock in, guys. A high lift will give you more lift than a level 8. A level 8 will give you more lift than a level 5. So when we are trying to take these colors and take away the lifting ability, a high lift will need more morph than a level 5 because a high lift has more alkalinity and more lifting ability. Y'all picking up what I'm putting down? Sheena, you're never too sciencey. I love it. Thank you. I hope y'all are picking up what I'm putting down. Okay. The higher the level of color, the more morph you're going to need because there is more alkalinity. Okay. So this is just a quick little lesson on pH. If you guys are super into the sciencey and you want to understand hair science, hair chemistry, and like formulation, Megix knows this. We cross collab all the time, but I do have a class called the Fundamentals of Hair and Hair Color where I dive deep into this kind of stuff. I have been studying hair science and chemistry for the last 16 years, formulation, all of that. I love knowing the nerdy stuff and I love being able to share the nerdy stuff. But if you guys are super into that, just send me a DM because you're on the Megix webinar. I will give you half off. I give Megix fam half off always. But if you're into that, that is there for you. But just to quickly understand how pH works, because you got to understand how pH works in order to understand how to use morph. So Let's talk about the difference between an alkaline demi and an acidic demi. I'm so sorry. One second, guys. I was supposed to be recording this on my phone. Okay, let's talk about the difference between an alkaline demi and an acidic demi. Because again, I touched on it a second ago, but an alkaline demi is basically can be called a permanent toner, right? People say permanent toner, that's an alkaline demi. It can cause lift or shift of the natural melanin. It can shift the base because the pH is above a 9. So even with a low 5 volume, 6 volume developer or zero lift, there's no such thing as zero lift developer. I have a whole podcast episode on that. But even with a low developer, you can get shift or lift of the base. With that said, there is still a time and a place, and alkaline demi is a good option. One, when you are doing a global bleach and tone, if you are doing a global bleach and tone, an alkaline demi is going to be your friend. Because unless you're like a master, and maybe some of you are, I hate global bleach and tones, but sometimes the lift isn't always even, right? Sometimes there's areas that need an additional half a level of lift. Sometimes there's little warm, whatever, right? An alkaline demi, because it has some lifting ability, will even out that whole canvas for you. Even out that whole canvas for you and create the most beautiful opaque deposit. So global bleach and tone, great option for an alkaline demi. It might sting a little bit after their bleach, but spray someone up, you might be okay. Number two, if they still have a little bit of warmth in their hair. So for example, like maybe you want to do some, like the ends, you want to brighten them up a little bit, but you don't need to bleach them out because they're just a little bit warm. You could use an alkaline demi and it'll kind of like give it a little lift. If there's no virgin hair on the head, use an alkaline demi. It's got more longevity than an acidic demi because it travels further into the hair. So if there's no virgin hair on the head, you're not worried about a base bump or a base shift, use an alkaline demi. And then toning for a level 7 and below, I like to use an alkaline demi. In that level 6, 7 range, we are dealing with a lot of red and orange and just stuff, right? So an alkaline demi, depending on how you're formulating, could lift through and past some of that if you're trying to go for a cooler or ashier result. An alkaline demi could also last longer because again, it's traveling further into the hair. So don't write off alkaline demis. They're not the enemy. You just need to know when to use them, right? And then we have acidic demis. So an acidic demi is a true deposit only. You're not going to get a base bump. You're not going to get a base shift. You're not going to lift the natural melanin. It's pH between a 7 to an 8 versus a 9. Remember, it's logarithmic. So from an 8 to a 9 is 10x stronger. That 9 is 10 times stronger than that 8. So when would you use an acidic demi? Well, if you want more of like a soft and subtle deposit of color, acidic demi. If there's any virgin hair on the head that you do not want to lift or shift, acidic demi. If your client maybe isn't ready for like a full commitment, acidic demi. Longevity is less on an acidic demi. Toning a level 8 and above, I would always recommend using an acidic demi because likely the 8 and above is slightly more damaged, slightly over processed. And if we're dealing with hair that's kind of been through the ringer, we don't want to keep swelling and constricting and swelling and constricting because every time we swell and constrict, we break down the lipid barrier. We get rid of like some of the important things that hair needs to be strong and supple. Okay, so if the hair is really like, use an acidic demi. Use an acidic demi. So when I wouldn't recommend using an acidic demi is if you have hair that is very low porosity. If you have a client who has very low porosity hair, you don't want to use an acidic demi. Nothing's going to happen. Let me explain to you why. Okay. Low porosity means that those cuticles they're tight. They are constricted. Okay. Now, an acidic demi has no lifting ability. And if you're dealing with hair that is really porous and already has holes in it, the acidic demi is great. It's going to go in there, it's going to deposit, it's going to fill the holes, it's going to be golden. But if you're dealing with a client that has low porosity hair and that cuticle is so constricted and you put an acid demi on it, nothing is going to happen. And the truth is, when it comes to hair color, you need to be able to get some lift, some swell of the cuticle to get those dye molecules in. And the reason I'm saying this is a lot of times people will say, oh, I want to use Megix Morph to do gray blending on my client. Cool. If their hair is gray and porous, you're good to go. But some gray hair has such low porosity that they will put the color on there and nothing will happen. Or for example, this happened to me once when I was using Shades EQ. No shade on Shades. I just didn't know what was happening, and now I get it. I had a client. She was a natural level 6 or 7. Okay. And she wanted to be darker, a 4. So I was like, perfect. I'm going to use a demi, an acidic demi. We're good to go. Not good to go. All bad. Everything was bad. And the reason everything was bad is I didn't realize how low porosity her hair was. That I put that 4N from Shades on her, timed it for 20 minutes, washed it off, and nothing happened. And I was like, what just happened? Why did that happen? Because there wasn't any alkalinity in my color. It was too acidic for the hair that is such low porosity that I needed some alkalinity. I needed some swell so that the hair color process could happen. Is this making sense? Give me a thumbs up if this is making sense. You know, I get so excited talking about formulation, guys. Are we into it? This is so fun. Awesome. Okay. So now we understand the purpose of Morph. I love all the thumbs up. Thank you guys. I appreciate that so much. We understand the purpose of Morph. We understand how it works, right? Now let's talk about how to mix it, how to formulate with Megix Morph. I'm going to want you guys to take some screenshots today. And so get your phones ready, take some screenshots, and then if you feel like it, you can absolutely post on Instagram, share, tag me for sure. But 3 different ways to mix Megix Morph, right? We have the Ultra Blondes, levels 8, 9, and 10, level 7 and below. And then I want to talk about Mousse and Morph. Okay, so let's dive in. If you are going to use the Ultra Lift Blondes and you want to use them as an acidic demi, this is what I do. Okay, I use the Ultra Lift Blondes most of the time when I'm toning. Here's your formula. You're going to mix 15 grams of whatever color you want. The 100, 101, 102, 103, 104, 108, your choice. You can mix them, match them, whatever you want. 15 grams of the color in your bowl. 22 grams of fix, because it's mixed 1 part color, 1.5 parts developer. And then you're going to add 2 grams of Morph. If you have the Morph with the dropper, 1 dropper full, 1 ml equals 1 gram. So for every 15 grams of color, you're going to add 2 grams of Morph. And then your developer is going to be 1.5 times the amount of color that's in your bowl. So here's what I'm going to tell you. Don't worry about trying to memorize these formulas. Screenshot, okay? And then when you're doing a client, you're like, okay, I want to do an acidic demi. I want a deposit only. Cool. Instead of like memorizing the math, you're going to be like, okay, I want to use the high lift on her to tone. And then you go to the screenshot and then you're like, oh, I'm going to put 15 grams of color, 22 grams of developer, 2 grams of Morph. Thanks, Adas. We're good. That's it. You don't have to memorize it. You just have to know that you want to use an acidic demi, and then you decide what level of color you're going to use, and then you refer back to this. And then eventually you will memorize it. So Ultra Blondes, for every 15 grams of color, we add 2 grams of Morph, and then 22 grams of developer, because it's 1.5 times 15. Now let's say you want to tone your client and she's between a level 8, 9, and 10. Now, a level 8, 9, and 10 does not have as much lifting ability as a high lift. Yes or yes? Yes. So if you're going to tone your client or low light your client and you want to use an 8, 9, or 10, you're going to come to this screenshot and you're going to be like, okay, For every 10 grams of color, I am adding 1 gram of Morph. And then I'm going to add 15 grams of developer because it's 1.5 times the amount of color, right? So 10 grams of color, 15 grams of developer, 1 gram of Morph. So you see how for a level 8, 9, 10, you don't need as much Morph than you do for the highlight. Now, if you have a level 7 and below, even less Morph. So yes, it's still 1 gram of Morph, but look at, we have 20 grams of color instead of 10 grams of color. Okay, so if you're going to tone or low light a level 7 and below, you're going to put 20 grams of color in your bowl. You're going to put 30 grams of developer because it's 1 to 1.5, and then you're going to add 1 gram of Morph. And these are what you're going to use anytime you want to make Megix Morph an acidic demi. Okay, so I'm going to go through them one more time. For the ultra blondes, you're going to do 15 grams of color, 22 grams of developer, 2 grams of Morph. That's the most Morph you're going to use. And then for level 8, 9, and 10, because it's less alkalinity, you're going to do 10 grams of color, 15 grams of fix, and 1 gram of Morph. And then for level 7 and below, 20 grams of color, 30 grams of developer, and 1 gram of Morph. Now, the acidifying treatment, this is something that you really, I don't like to should on people. I don't want to tell you you should, but you should be doing this after every color service. Megix Mousse, okay, for the Pure Shades brand, it's called Synergy Mousse. For the Megix brand, it's called Megix Treatment Mousse. It's the same product in 2 different brands, okay, because some people carry Pure Shades, some don't. The mousse, okay, the mousse, it is not a styling mousse. It is not a styling product. It is a deep conditioning, hydrating treatment, okay? So use it as such. So after you do any color service, root retouch, gray coverage, bleaching, toning, any colors, Pure Shades, any color service, you're going to shampoo them out, you're going to condition them, and then you're going to do this acidifying treatment, okay? And what you're going to do is you're going to take the mousse and you're going to put a big old glob of mousse in your hand. And then I like to make a little hole. And then I take 1 or 2 dropperfuls of Megix Morph. And I put it in my mousse and I kind of like massage it and I put it on the hair. This is going to do a couple of things for you. Number 1, that hydrating mousse is going to act like a deep conditioning treatment. It's going to make their hair feel silky and shiny and lustrous, like amazing. 2, you're adding Morph to it. Morph is an acidifier. Anytime you color the hair, you swell with oxidative color. Oxidative color meaning color and developer. You swell the hair. Okay, it swells. Depending on what you're using, it swells a lot, sometimes not so much. And it is important to bring that swelling down and constrict the hair back to its happy place. And doing the mousse and morph will help do that. So it'll help seal those cuticles down, constrict the hair, acidify the hair, and lock in that color. Lock in that color. Leave it on for 5 minutes. Yes, I like to shampoo, condition, then dynamic duo with the mousse and morph. Teresa, my next slide is for you. My next slide is for you. You can use this as a glossy hydrating treatment. It will create so much shine because those cuticle layers are now laying flat, reflecting the light. It's beautiful. I do this especially after every Pure Shades application. I want to lock those color molecules in, like seal that cuticle as best as I can. After every gray coverage, after every toner, I'm telling you, like, this is something that needs to be in your back bar, always. Will this work after a relaxer? Yeah, it's an acidifying, it's a conditioner and an acidifier. So as long as you don't put too much morph, I think you should be fine. Okay. Clear gloss, Teresa, you're 1 step ahead of the game, girl. Okay, so if you want to do just a clear gloss treatment on your client, this is when you could use 0.00. Remember I talked about 0.00 when we were talking about the Ultra Blondes? Go back here. Where's it at? Right, the blonding enhancer. So the 0.00 on its own, how it's designed to be used with the high lift series is extra lift. When we take away the extra lift, we just have the base of Megix 10 color with no color, no tone. It's just the emollients, the emulsifiers, all the conditioning agents, and the CareVeg 18. We take away the lifting power, so we would add 0.00, fix, and morph. And what is the mixing ratio for that? It's part of the ultra blondes category. So it would be 15 grams, 0.00, 22 grams of fix, and 2 grams of Megix Morph. So you could use this also as a clear gloss treatment. I would do this plus the mousse and morph combo. And their hair is going to be so shiny, they're not going to know what to do with it. Coolio. Okay, any question? I did some swatches. I made a few swatches and I want to share them, but I don't know if my lighting is good. So, and this is really funny. This is the best example. I can keep it real with you guys. We got 10 more minutes. I get asked a lot, what formula did you use? What was the formula? What was the formula? Okay. My formula, 101. Beautiful, right? My formula, 101. Look how different they look. Look at how different they look. My formula, 101. These look like 3 different results. These 2 are the closest. But these are 101 I mixed as alkaline demi. And just for reference, this is the control swatch. So this is how we started. This is where we ended, 101. Okay. This is where we started. This is where we ended, started, ended, 101. This is where we started. This is where we ended, 101. All of this to like say, don't just assume if I give you my formula that it's going to look the same on your client. Like clearly close, but not the same. If you guys can see this in real life, I'm going to see if I can put better pictures on Instagram later. But like, how different. Okay. So the formula is only as good as what you put it on. What you put it on. So that's that. I also did 108. These were fun too. And again, I swatched 3 different swatches just to kind of show you that the formula matters, but not that much. So these are all 108. Oh, 108, 108, 108. Big difference, right? Again, this was the control swatch. This is 108. 108 is a beautiful, like a blue violet. If you can get the hair white, or like not white, but like palest yellow, 108 is stunning. Stunning. I also swatched out 104. This is one of my favorites. 104 is like a nude uh strawberry. It's so pretty. Here's what it looks like on real human hair. I take clients ponytails and I make it into swatches. So this is from a client of mine. This is what we started with. And then this is the 104. It's so pretty. So pretty. I also did some dark swatches. These are 824. 824 is such a beautiful color, but look at how different they look. Just so you have the control. This is where this started. This is how we started. No, this is where we started. This is 824. Oh, 8.1. This is a good level 8 ash. These are all 8.1. Slightly different depending on the canvas. These are 731. Oh, this is a nice little difference. Look at these are the same formula. Same formula, same timing. So when you guys ask me for formulas and I'm hesitant, or when you ask other people for formulas and they are hesitant or they give you a formula, please don't assume that their formula is going to look the same on your client because there's so much that goes into the formulation, the texture, the porosity, the melanin, the underlying pigment. Not every level 7 underlying pigment is the same. So just be mindful of that, guys. Just be mindful of when somebody shares a formula. Don't expect it to look exactly the same because, like we saw, the 101, this one is like the most obvious. How different? How different? Um, yeah. Very different. Okay, so we've got a few more minutes. Do you guys have any questions I can help answer? Because that's really all I have for you. I wanted to just deep dive into Morph. So I'm open to some questions, feedback. Was this good? Were we happy with the information? You got nothing? Oh, wait. Where's my chat? Oh, wow. I missed out. Oh, okay. How many grams of the morph do you add to the mousse treatment? I don't measure, Zach. It's really just like 1 or 2 dropperfuls, depending on how much hair I have on my client. Gorgeous toner. That is beautiful. Thank you. Ursula, same question. Mixing ratio with the mousse and the morph. Um, yeah, that's gonna be, I usually won't do more than 2 dropperfuls. So for medium length hair, I do like, this much mousse. It's hard to measure or weigh mousse because it's so airy. But 1 dropperful, and then longer, thicker, coarser hair, I do a little bit more mousse and maybe 2 dropperfuls. You thought sand would be their own filler for blondes. Zach, if you don't have the dropper, they have the little measuring cups that have the mLs on it. But if you can get you know what I used to use before we had the dropper? A baby Tylenol syringe. Because it like 1 gram is so hard to measure on the scale, so I would just use a little baby Tylenol syringe. That's what I would do. Okay, well, I appreciate your guys' time this morning. Thank you so much. I'm so thankful that this was helpful for you. I hope that you can take the time to learn to use Morph because it really just like takes Megix to the next level for you to be able to use it as an acidic demi, as well as an alkaline demi and a permanent. We have a new website. If you guys go check it out, it's really pretty. It's been in the works for months. Megix10.com, but our upcoming education will be updated there. I'll see you guys back in September for our monthly webinars. What else? What else? I think we have a couple of the crew members on here, so I'm really excited. We've got some new crew members. And just keep an eye out on the Megix10 Instagram. We're working on something really, really, really cool for the fall. Okay. Let's see.